Welcome back to our channel. If you've been following our channel, you know that this year has not been the best for us as far as producing from our gardens to sell at the farmer's market. So with that extra time on our hands, we had a really cool opportunity to go visit Winterkiss Farm in Stevensville, Montana, and had a really good talk with Max. He showed us around their farm, which they mostly sell produce from through a CSA. And the cool part about it is their big time where they're selling is in the winter in Montana. So we had an opportunity to learn a ton of stuff from him, and I really do thank you, Max, for hosting us at your farm and showing us around, and for letting us show it with everybody on YouTube. So without any more talking from me right now, let's get right into the video over at Winterkiss Farm. So we are here today at Winterkiss Farm in Stevensville, Montana with Max, and he's going to give us a tour, which we're really excited about because they grow a ton of stuff here. Max, could you kind of give us an overview of what you do here, what you grow, all of those, just like basic, to get us kind of interested, or, you know, fill us in a little bit?
Sure. Well, it's kind of hard to talk about what we grow and which seasons because we're always kind of bouncing around.
Okay.
The farm has evolved a lot since we started. We used to go to like 5 different farmers markets every Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the whole, like, we were a worker cooperative at that point, and so every worker cooperative member would just like spring in a different direction and bring vegetables to sling, and we grew a really diverse suite of vegetables at that time, and we would basically, depending on the town, we would bring different things, you know, what was needed, you know.
Okay.
And since then, since around 2018 when we were doing that, we have begun to slim down in terms of the crop mix and like kind of like the number of outlets, and yeah, at this point we just really focus on members of the farm.
Okay. Because you run a CSA.
Right.
I listened to one of your podcasts, so I know a little bit on the background.
Yeah.
But you do different seasons for your CSA, or do you try to do all year?
Right. That's right.
Different seasons. Okay.
Yeah, we used to do year-round production and distribution through that CSA, and we were really proud of that. Good food year-round was kind of our slogan. And we are one of the few growers that does season extension and provides food in the shoulder seasons from the fall all the way through the early spring.
Okay.
You know, let's say like October through March.
Okay.
And so when we discovered, you know, that the market was pretty large for that time of year, and once we started building out the infrastructure, little by little, it's now an acre in tunnel space. We really started to kind of narrow our focus into that part of the year, and it was right after COVID, and so the labor market had kind of changed as well, and so we were kind of responding to the fact that we wanted to offer year-round positions and pay people better so that we could have a little continuity from year to year in terms of the people that were working out here. And one of the ways that we were also trying to provide a better working environment was to avoid burnout by shrinking everybody's schedules down to 4 days a week.
Okay.
And then paying people more so that they can make a living and stuff. And so one of the things that we came to was, let's see if we can generate enough income from just the shoulder seasons, you know, October through March, to make a living basically.
Okay.
And so we kind of tested out that idea. And since that period, we have actually walked back. We have walked back into the summertime and distribution at that part of the year. But so right now we have a spring CSA, a summer CSA, and a winter CSA.
You guys are busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no rest really.
Yeah.
Not much. So the winter CSA, that's really interesting to a lot of people in Montana, especially because our winters are harsh. Here, you and I were talking off camera about how this area is a lot better to grow in than even where we live. But what are your primary things that you grow for your winter CSA?
We focus on greens because we find that things like spinach and kale and chard and let's see, what are some other heavy hitters? Something like Claytonia is a really hardier green that people aren't as familiar with, but it's also known as miner's lettuce. things like baby bok choy. Those greens
Okay.
like thrive in Montana's winters, even if you're not heating these greenhouse
I was
spaces.
wondering. So they're in the tunnel,
They're in the tunnel, and
are they double tunneled?
no,
They're not like
we
a
used to
caterpillar in there?
consider things like that, but we do put fabric, like row cover blankets down.
Okay.
And when there's a really crazy forecast of like negative temperatures or something, we'll add another
Mm-hmm.
blanket, basically. But we really try to acclimate them to the harshest stuff. So in like November, we're not covering anything. We've got all of these tunnels like
Oh.
open all the way, and we're exposing them to as much, 20-degree weather as we can give them.
So you're kind of acclimating the
Kind of
plant.
acclimating them, exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
It's really key. And the other key that we find is like keeping the plants really small when they first start ramping into that cold period. So you don't want like excessively large kale and chard,
Okay.
because those leaves are a little bit more susceptible, and there's a relationship between when you plant them and the size that they get when those extreme temperatures come on.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of want to seed them out and transplant them out as late as you can,
Okay.
so that they basically, but not too late to where that there isn't enough sunlight for them to
Yeah.
grow up beefy. So basically, you have to kind of play around with your dates. I'm
I
sure
was
your
gonna say you
dates.
probably have a very strict calendar
We,
then on we
we
missed
do.
that deadline
We
by a
do.
day.
We do. And
Yeah.
they're always adjusting too. Like,
Uh-huh.
like we learn things every single year about, little tweaks to the system.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure our dates would be completely different than yours.
Yeah. Yep. So your winter, all those greens, have you already seeded those or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Like I said, we're trying to like push that back as long as we can. So
about when would you seed them in your climate here?
we, depends on the crop. So we
Yeah.
just seeded the kale last week.
Okay.
So we'll be transplanting those out at the end of August.
Okay.
Something like spinach is going to be seeded even later, like mid-September.
Okay.
And we try to seed out like a variety of successions too. So we
Okay.
don't know exactly how sunny it's going to be in September and October.
Mm-hmm.
A cloudy day will produce dramatically different results than a sunny day
Mm-hmm.
in terms of their growth rate,
Mm-hmm.
both in terms of like they're not photosynthesizing as much, but also the spaces don't heat up, so they're just not
Yeah.
metabolically as active.
Mm-hmm.
So we sort of hedge our bets by planting like different
Yeah.
waves of these plants.
So are you seeding those? I see your seed house over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that where you seed everything and then you transplant everything?
For some crops.
Mix and match. Okay.
We don't direct seed like the bunching kale, things like winter boar kale, but we will direct seed something like a baby kale mix.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it kind of depends on what crop you're talking about. I'm sure you could direct seed the winter boar kale, but you'd have to play around with the dates a little bit and know how, with this system, we sort of have figured out, okay, at 1 foot spacing between the kales, they won't grow too fast and they won't get too big. But we struggle with this is kind of getting into the nuance. You probably don't even want to hear the crazy nuance.
No, I think it's interesting.
Okay. So we've run into an issue where, our kales will be too close to the soils, and if they get too elongated and big, they're touching the ground, they're experiencing a little bit more microbial interaction.
Okay.
And so they can tend to go downhill, and we'll have to like basically prune those off in order to get to the good stuff.
So rather space them out? Is that what you're saying?
You could, but better yet, I think would be having a market before the winter CSA starts to be able to make money pruning, basically. So that the plants start, you've seen kale stalks like this big.
Yep.
So they only get that big because you're picking them.
Yes.
And we're basically strategically planting so that they are small enough when they experience that cold, but big enough so that we can be bunching in December, January. So it's this really, there's a lot of tension between those goals. And one thing that we hope to at some point have is like a large enough like grocery store market or something like that, or Western Montana Growers Co-op market for things like kale and chard, because right now the bottleneck is that those plants get too big and are too close to the ground, and then we end up losing part of the crop because of, not because of cold, but just that damp, cold environment along with all the microbiology
Right
in
at the
soil.
bottom there, right by the ground.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's those little things that like you learn them and you go, well, this could be better, you know?
Yeah, totally.
That's
Absolutely.
all good to learn. Can we step inside your
Yeah,
gardening?
let's go. We had a really small greenhouse that we were growing as a propagation house early on, and then Katie finally, we were making enough money that Katie finally felt like it was good to pull the trigger and buy something a little bigger. So this is the
Nice.
greenhouse, yeah.
Wow.
So.
Get all your future plans in here.
Yeah, it's really filling up actually. Like if you came in here maybe 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't see hardly anything at all. So
Yeah. So do you guys sell plant starts in the spring, or is that not your...
not our thing.
Not your thing? Okay.
Yeah.
What do you have in here right now?
We've got purple Napa cabbage. It's kind of a specialty guy. Green Napa, it's the Bilko variety. We've got escarole, which is kind of the unique green.
Yeah, I've never seen that. Okay.
Kind of mixes things up. It's a little bit more bitter, but if you're looking at something like radicchio, it's a little bit more of a first time bitter green crop for folks that aren't familiar with that. We've got cilantro, mixed ages, lettuce as well here, different Salanova types that it kind of gets to what you were saying earlier about like tweaking things a little bit more as you learn each year, you know, different parts of your system.
Yep. And so these will, I know it's mix and match, but like the lettuce will be in the high tunnels. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
For a very limited time.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so can we go maybe to the field and talk about your summer crops?
Sure.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have some staff.
Yeah. So there's 2 people that work 2 or 3 days a week, and then the rest of the crew works 4 days a week.
Okay, nice. That 4-day a week would be really nice.
Yeah.
Get a 3-day week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You really need it. We hire more people in the fall. There's this kind of strategy that I heard a farm called Turn de Sol talk about on a podcast, and I think I mentioned on that Winter Growers podcast, but basically it's that when things start getting heavier in the fall, you know, you're bringing in potatoes and squash and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it's at the tail end of a long season, growing season. People expect things to get harder, you know.
Yeah.
And so he kind of pulls this jujitsu of, no, let's hire more people and spread out that workload.
Yep.
And make sure that nobody has to work additional days.
Yep.
Or
just get the produce in, like not have that rush, that intense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a really thoughtful.
Yep. Because sometimes at the end of the season, I know I'm glad it's done a little bit. Part of me is glad.
Yeah.
But I could see not wanting that burnt out if you're going to be all winter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because actually things get busier for us in the wintertime.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
When will these carrots be ready to harvest?
These carrots, we plant them so that there's like 2 successions. You can, if you were to pan, this is the first succession in front of us. They're larger. They were seeded the end of June.
Oh, I see.
And then 1 week later, we seeded the second succession. You'll see these diverge, basically.
Yep.
Enough that we'll start harvesting these. Kind of gives us time to get through the whole stand because it's almost an acre at this point. But also it breaks up maybe a disease cycle, disease spread is what I've heard as a possible strategy. But anyways, we'll start harvesting this in early October. We really wait until the first frost really come on.
Yeah.
Or at least we get some like, high 30s or something like that. And it really starts like channeling, it starts like the weather communicates to the plants and the plants sort of respond in that they start converting their starches into sugars.
Okay.
And so our harvesting pattern sort of revolves around what the plants are experiencing, and we try to capture out that frost sweetened carrot.
Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. I noticed there are not many weeds in this area. How do you control, what's your weed management practice here? What do you guys do?
There's a variety of practices. The first one is that we'll seed the crop that last week of June.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll irrigate like crazy for about 8 days, and we'll start to see carrots emerge. And then Katie will actually bring through this flame weeding tool that takes out all of the weeds that have germinated. Typically, carrots are some of the last seeds to germinate,
Mm-hmm.
and so reliably you can burn out all of the weeds that have germinated ahead of the carrots, and then the carrots will kind of come out of the ashes days later, and then you'll see some of the lower lying weeds like penetrate the soil and come subsequently, and you'll have to like hand weed them basically.
Mm-hmm.
But we really try to send the entire crew out. It basically, if you look at this bed, it'll take like a team of 2 people like 45 minutes to get down one bed.
All the way, just from one to the
Other. But so, and it would be a lot longer if like we didn't attack the weeds like when they were basically this big.
Yeah.
So that's what the crew works on, and it's all about timing and.
So this flame throwing, what's it called?
Flame weeder, yeah.
Flame weeder.
Yeah.
Flame weeder. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty cool.
It's tremendous.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
It's the way. And there are different ones out there, but the one from Neversink Farm is a little bit more burly. The sun isn't shining in say December or January.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not able to harvest greens that day.
Yep.
We have to have kind of a backup option. We grow all these storage vegetables for, to supplement the greens.
Yep.
But we also, in August, tear out fruit after fruit, tomato after tomato, and jar up like a tomato sauce that's ready to pour on pasta as well. And so that's.
So is that for your own personal use, or is that something you sell?
That's something we provide in the winter CSA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just kind of a backup of sorts, and
yeah.
we roast peppers and then freeze those for people.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's how you kind of supplement with the greens. You add a little bit of the more summer seasonal produce.
Exactly. A little taste of the summer.
Is this a cover crop right here? What is this?
It is. Yeah. It's there's some weeds in here for sure, but this is rye and yellow blossom sweet clover.
Okay, cool.
Cereal rye. So it'll come back next spring really nicely too.
So what's your plan with this particular field right here?
This one, let's see. Honestly, I don't have a plan yet.
Okay.
It kind of, there's an area that you might have seen on the way in that we spaded up.
Yes, they did.
Okay. Yeah. Good eyes. So that was the same cover crop mix, and, in that area, we actually are going to seed an annual rye, so it winter kills. Annual ryegrass, I should say. And that's where we'll plant carrots next year, because this stuff tends to get, all of the root matter and stuff is very fibrous.
Mm-hmm.
And it presents a real problem in terms of seeding out carrots in the beds. Whereas the annual ryegrass is a lot more of a fleeting carbon. Like it just sort of like melts away. Like it's not even there by the time you seed it in late June.
So it doesn't really provide like a mulch or anything. It's
not
just
really.
kind of gone.
I mean, there is a mulch, but then when you incorporate it, it just goes.
Okay.
It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that area was seeded in this cover crop mix, and we're actually going to change gears because we know where we're going to plant carrots. But that realization only happened, about a month ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
So things kind of move pretty slowly out here, and we're not always quite sure where we'll put different things. But
I was wondering too how you rotate your greenhouses because of the winter growing and all the succession cropping and all that.
That's a great question. I could send you a link to this, but we have a spreadsheet that I mentioned.
Oh, that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. So within this spreadsheet are different tunnels, like one of them's called the laser, and we've got it color coded and broken down by this column is just like the year or the season. And then you've got beds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in each tunnel, and so we're able to kind of like capture which families we've had in which beds.
Okay.
and then rotate a little bit easier.
That would be a lot to keep track of, even where everything is.
It'd be insane. After 2 years, you'd lose it.
Yeah.
So, and then we also capture kind of the soil tests on that too, so we can kind of easily refer to.
Look at those tomatoes.
Yeah.
They look gorgeous. So we're inside of, obviously, your tomato high tunnel.
Yes.
And I see how you're trellising. We kind of leave a high tunnel. Well, we have a greenhouse that's kind of like this, and
cool.
we did a similar thing, trellising to the ceiling. We also used cattle panels because
That's easy.
ours is not this strong. This looks awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about what tomato varieties you're growing in here, if you happen to know?
Yeah, that's an easy question to answer. It's only one variety at this point.
I was wondering.
Yeah, we've slimmed it down. Let's see if I can pick one for the camera.
Is this your favorite variety?
It is, yeah. It's very prolific. This guy's ran through here the other day, so I don't know how much we'll find.
You can have a slightly underripe one.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever.
They're called glaciers, and they're the shorthand for us is just calling them saladettes, because they're not a cherry, and they're not a larger slicer.
Yeah. Kind of golf ball size.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So really easy to pick, and they're great for saucing. The flavor is amazing on them.
Yep.
A
nice acidic, I'm assuming.
Nice acidic, yeah. For sure.
Cool.
And they're bizarre too, because they don't really fully ripen ever.
Really?
Like they
you don't have them super soft?
No. Well, they'll be soft, but like the tops really don't turn red all that well.
Color.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bizarre.
Cool.
But also they're sort of a semi-determinate, so we don't have to spend as much time trellising, which is really key for us in the summer.
Do you guys prune everything, or do you kind of just...
We do for cherries and indeterminates. Yeah, we're rigorous. Like I could show you that tunnel. It's a lot more beautiful than this, actually, but
really,
this is
this is pretty beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I kind of love this stuff.
Yeah, we got these in super duper late. We were probably the last farm in the valley to get in tomatoes.
When did you get your tomatoes in?
Golly, it was probably late May, maybe early June. Probably early June.
You know, where we are, that's kind of when we plant too.
Is that right?
Yes.
Golly.
I know, we hear about people, and I watch the Facebook groups and all that.
Yeah.
In Missoula, and they're already been in for a long time.
Just to torture yourself.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much.
This was kale that we grew up for the spring CSA, and we were harvesting it a little bit for restaurants like the Old Salt in Helena.
Okay, yep.
And they had lacinato. You can kind of see the remnants of cabbage heads that we.
The cabbage in there.
Isn't that wild? Like they just regrew little tiny heads after the harvest.
Do you guys have problems with bugs in the cabbage?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can show you one of our tricks for that, though.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, because we gave up on growing those.
I believe it. It's hard. It's hard.
What do you do for that?
That's part of the reason we mowed these kale, actually, was because the moths were just so crazy. So what we do with that is, for the first maybe month or two, it varies with the crop and how much they grow out of these. And how well we weed an area as well. But we keep these insect nettings on as long as we can.
Okay, yeah, I was noticing these on the way in, clearly. It's
incredible. They're so much better for the plants than the row cover, because they let more water in, they let more heat out, so they don't really generate as much humidity and heat as a row cover would, even like a lighter row cover.
So you do this inside of the high tunnel?
We do, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Anywhere we can. And then for things like turnips, this insect netting is on their entire lives, because this cabbage maggot fly will actually lay eggs on them, like things like Hakurei turnips, those nice white guys.
Okay.
And
burrow in it, or?
And they'll start burrowing. Yeah. So these are really key for root vegetables as well, not just the cabbage moths.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh, cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
They definitely don't hold any heat, so like sometimes we'll even throw a row cover on top.
Yep.
just in a cold period in the early spring or something like that. But
what variety of onions are those? Do you happen to know?
oh yeah,
ones?
They're pretty much the only onion variety we grow. It's red long of Tropea.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Good to have a new variety. We tried red burgundy this year, and I was not impressed.
Oh, okay. Why not?
They just didn't live. The other ones all lived and did awesome, but not that particular kind for us and our soil. And, everything else is the same. All the transplant, all of this, all of that.
Wow.
Just sporadic.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I love getting a new variety idea.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested if this worked for you. They're kind of, Katie used to describe them at farmers markets by saying that they're in between, they're like if a sweet onion and a shallot and a green onion all had a baby. They've kind of got the best of a lot of worlds.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So,
cabbage in here, and did I see some cauliflower?
Yeah, there's
over here.
Yeah, you should definitely get a shot of the cauliflower.
Purple cauliflower.
Yeah, the best variety we found to grow, and we finally encouraged Johnny's to carry it, is called Purple Moon.
This one right here, probably.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
So you encouraged Johnny's to carry it?
Suggested it on a farm tour when they came out here last year.
Oh, cool.
And I had some weird. I like it for very strange reasons, because it doesn't all mature at the same time.
Yeah.
So you can plant out an area. It's just like 2 rows, 400 feet, and you'll just have this harvesting window that's like a month and a half.
That's nice.
Yeah, so you don't have to go about the work of transplanting a whole lot of times or plant many successions in the greenhouse. Mm-hmm. You just plant enough for your markets. And
what variety was that again?
Purple Moon.
Purple Moon, cool.
And this is the storage number 4 variety.
Okay, for the cabbage. Storage number 4. Good for storage.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. It's bulletproof in storage. Like, we've grown a lot of kind of summer cabbages because we like the texture of them compared to this. Mm-hmm. But it lasts, through April, March. It's pretty crazy when we harvested in October, so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Very helpful.
Very neat. So these don't have the cover on them.
Yes.
Did you just pull it off, or had it not been on here, or?
Last year, okay, that's a really good question. Last year we grew these out with cover pretty much their entire lives. This year, because you can see the weeds in the walkways.
Yes.
We didn't have like as much communication about walkway weeds and weeding them out with a hoe versus using this new tool we have called the Power Ox. Sort of getting together as a crew and figuring out how we were going to tackle this all, and we didn't all communicate the process and stuff. We've since learned, but anyways, the result of that was that we had just a shitload of weeds everywhere, and they were popping that insect netting up, much like that crop is popping it up right now.
Yep.
So at a certain point, the width above 2 beds there doesn't work, and we have to take it off.
Gotcha.
And the weeds were actually puncturing it. So
it had it, and then the weeds,
yeah.
and then you pulled it off.
Yeah, okay. There's a lesson for you. Just if you're going to use insect netting, make sure you have a really clean crop. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You tend to forget it a little bit because it's all covered up, but.
Mm-hmm. How long are these runs for your rows?
410 feet.
Really?
Yeah.
And how many runs do you have?
I don't know. I don't even. Again, it's like,
food.
Where are you going to put the food next year? I have no idea.
What do you guys do for storing the mass amount of food? Do you have a good way to keep it?
Yeah, Katie is a magician with storage. Always finding new hacks and stuff. But a lot of it is just kind of feeling it out and, when to plant them so you can whisk them out of the field at the last minute. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to store them very long,
Okay. I suppose since you guys are all season pretty much, I mean,
yeah.
Not all, but, all.
Ish.
Yeah.
But so this cabbage, she put the plants in the pots at a certain time so that these don't need to be in storage starting before September,
Okay.
So we can put these into the storage at the very last minute before like a really killing frost comes about.
Do you have a storage room then?
We do have multiple storage rooms, and now we learned from, I think it was Long Season Farm, that you can just take these insulated shipping containers and just pack those full of bins as well, and just sort of put the put the last in should be your first out kind of thing, and just pack it really thoughtfully.
And that really works in our winters?
It does when you add a cool bot and an AC unit, and yeah, but and sometimes, you know, you'll throw in a little space heater or something like that on the really cold nights or something. But generally, yeah, it works great.
That's amazing to know that.
You know, maybe, I don't know, $15,000-$20,000 in materials.
Oh, nice.
So really affordable.
It's nice and cool in here.
It's incredible. These panels are like R32 or something.
Yep.
And then so this is the wash station room.
Yep.
And, you know, we're able to use as many carts and wheels as we can.
Oh, cool.
So in the wintertime, this will be full of these macro bins and be up to the ceiling. We'll kind of leave like a little bit of a gap so the AC units can.
Jeez.
This will also fill up, fit way more product.
That's what you look with that fork tractor up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. I see. So wash and then cold. Very cool. So I see the weed mat. I don't know what to call it. What is that called?
It's like a corn plastic.
Yeah. Do you lay that with your tractor?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Nice. Has that been like a game changer, or what do you think about that? Tell me about that.
Oh, we have a real love-hate relationship with that.
Oh, us too with the weed mat, so that's interesting to me. Hey.
Yeah, us too with the fabric. It's like, they all have their pros and cons, and so we asked our tractor operator to lay out the beds so that basically they were a big enough walkway in between them that we could take like a lawn mower and mow out like the cover crops that we seeded in here along with the weeds that popped up.
So you did cover crops in the bottom.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
And you know, our lawnmower has been giving us fits and starts. And because weeds will grow up right along the very edge of the beds, where the lawnmower can't really get to because you'd be running the wheel into the crop.
Gotcha.
There is a problem with that. We came to the idea that, so at a certain point we started actually planting these onions. You could see those didn't have any weed plastic on them.
Yeah, I was noticing that.
And those were great because, I mean, Katie could run her machine. They also don't have cover crops in the walkway, so we hoed out that and used this Power Ox tool to really clean up the edges and stuff. They look really good, but this took a lot more labor to manage the area where the plastic would have been. So we moved away from the plastic in the early season after experiencing it, and we're actually going to probably go back to it and just make walkways so that they're not going to have cover crops in the walkways. Katie's just going to troll back and forth with that tool and basically plow it all the time.
Those cabbage are beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. We also had a spider mite thing just wipe out all of our cukes.
Really?
Yeah. Luckily, we were just able to harvest a couple 100 pounds, like 400 pounds for the pickling that gets done by a business. They ferment our cucumbers actually for those late winter periods when we want those farm produced products.
Yep. So your CSA, how many members do you have?
For the spring, I think it was about 230 this year. And then for the winter time, we are aiming for 375 this year. I think it was 350 last year.
Okay.
And then for the summer, it's considerably smaller.
Really?
Ironically. We have a summer CSA so that people can have some continuity in their diets, and it's mostly just for our customers, not really to make money.
Okay.
So we keep
It's to keep the customers.
It's to keep the customers, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how do you advertise for your CSA?
We've got an email newsletter that we and an online store, so we send out order reminders through that.
Okay.
And then at farmers markets, when we do go, we tend to put a little sheet out for people to sign up for those emails, and so we can keep contact with people that are interested in our work.
Okay. Gotcha. Beautiful. So are those all sun gold?
They're all sun gold. Yeah, good eyes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what those look like, and you do have to prune those. My gosh, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are down to 2 liters per plant.
Okay.
and there's no other way.
Yep.
It just gets too crazy. And our squash varieties are pretty prolific. Like we grow Tetsakabudo, Autumn Frost, Honeyboat Delicata.
Nice.
We grow spaghetti and acorns for people that are a little bit less familiar with squashes and want that classic. But we don't grow pumpkins anymore, partly because they don't store. And we've shifted a lot of our production, like the bulk majority of these squashes out here, towards varieties that store really nicely, but have excellent culinary qualities as well. Like this Tetsakabudo variety that's kind of vining out right here. I don't know. You can see, like you don't find crops that have great storage quality and great flavor.
Yep.
But
Is
like,
this one of them?
Yeah, this is one to hold on to.
Yeah.
Like it's Tetsakabudo in Japanese is iron helmet. And so it's like bulletproof, you know.
Really?
Like it just lasts until like June the next year. It's incredible.
Sweet. That's awesome.
But the texture is like custard, and it's
Is it yellow? Orange?
It's orange, yeah.
It's orange.
Yeah.
Is it green on the outside?
Green on the outside, yeah. Greenish black.
Okay. Yep.
It's wild. And it's got this really thick shell. It can bruise and stuff and still store just fine. And it's crossed with it's like a butternut and a kabocha, I believe.
Okay.
So it's great in soups as well, and we usually just roast it up and enjoy it just as a side, you know.
Is it when you just scoop it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Our go-to for that is called Moorgold.
Moorgold.
It looks like a pumpkin, but it keeps all winter. Hard as a rock on the outside, and it's orange, but like really flavorful, buttery orange.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We might have to trade squashes.
Yeah, you should try some of those for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, we'll give you some seed for that if you want, but we really do like that one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Moorgold.
Do
you know what? It's a pumpkin type.
It looks like a pumpkin, but it's so like you can put it on your table and say, oh, it's pumpkin, but it's not a pumpkin. It's a winter squash. You eat it. Whenever we sell them at the farmer's market, they're like, please eat this. This is not a toy. Please eat this.
Can you sign this contract so we know you're going to eat it first?
This, please. It's good. It will keep for you if you don't want to eat it now. You can eat it after Halloween. It's fine.
People are like, okay, enough about the squash.
Yeah, I just want to buy it. So, yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite pepper? I see peppers in that one.
Oh, yeah. That variety is called Carmen. So this is an Italian sweet pepper. It has great roasting qualities as well. But you can sample this to kids at your farm stand or at the farmer's market. They'll bite into it, fall in love, and their parents will just buy as many as they can.
Yeah.
Like it's an incredible, you really have to wait till it turns red, but they've got this beautiful shape to them too.
Okay, so they turn red?
Yeah.
They're already pretty big.
Yeah, they are pretty big.
They look like chilies.
Yeah, exactly.
You do soil testing here, and what is your soil like here?
Our soils, when we first came here, they were like super alkaline, like 8.9.
What?
Over 9 in some instances, but pretty consistently 8.9, 8.8.
You have no idea how reassuring that is.
Yeah, you can do stuff with that.
Okay, how did you help that? What did you do?
We just introduce as much biology and carbon as we can. Like, I just have a fundamental belief that adding carbon improves so many different aspects of your soil. Water retention, nutrient cycling, it's feeding microbes that are able to digest materials and cycle them back into forms that plants can take up.
Okay.
And so if you're kind of religious about that belief, then you've got to add carbon in whatever form is available to you. Like for us, it's leaves from the municipality.
Okay.
They just drop off like 20 dump truck loads a year.
That's nice that you have access to that.
It is very nice. It's incredibly lucky. They used to truck them to Missoula from Hamilton, and so they're able to shorten their trip. It's why we're not organically certified, actually, is because those are just picked up from people's yards and stuff, and so there's no traceability for it. We've never run into a residue problem, an herbicide problem, so that's been lucky as well. But it just goes back to that core belief of mine that like we have to be incorporating cover crop carbon. We have to be incorporating leaves and supplementing with minerals that are mined basically, or used, generated from. In our case, we use a fertilizer that's created at like slaughterhouses and stuff.
Okay.
Basically, they compost down blood and bones and stuff like that, and create a really high octane organic fertilizer. So it's kind of like short circuits the waste stream a little bit. It helps in that way, but a lot of heat is used to generate those fertilizers. So I don't feel super good about it, but basically the soil testing informs what fertilizer blends we buy, because like some nutrients like potassium are through the roof. They're like almost toxic levels, or they were when we first started, and like 700-800 parts per million. Just insane.
Wow.
From probably the hay people that were out here before, just like dumping it out, to increase the amount of tissue growth and stuff. But, or I don't know, maybe it's just inherited from the deposits. But anyways, it was out here. And so we've been sort of like mining that as much as we can, and formulating the fertilizer blends so that we're not adding any of that, because like we're paying for those nutrients, and I'd rather just
need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so our soils we're sort of lower on nitrogen, and we don't grow a lot of leguminous crops like beans and peas and stuff like that. I do have a pea cover crop right here, but that's kind of like a unique thing.
Okay.
We mix the clovers in with the grasses, in our cover crop blends. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, we need a really high nitrogen fertilizer that's organic, and then we also needed phosphorus, because the chemistry of such a high pH soil really kind of limits the availability of phosphorus. It gets like bound up and it doesn't get released.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So it goes into the soil reserves. Yeah.
You know what your pH is now?
Oh, it varies, and we just, like you see, like there's so many different things going on out here that it has influenced things at different paces.
Yeah.
But the different tunnels, let me pull that up real quick. I'm curious.
You are having a lot of success, though. It's not like that pH is harming you.
Yeah, and maybe it's a lot of different factors that we are not in control of. Like, it's a silty loam, and so there's a lot of nutrient capacity here that we're just unlocking with biology. Whereas if I would hate to have a sandy textured soil, because you wouldn't be able to hold water. A lot of nutrients would just leach right through. Every soil's different.
They are all so different, aren't they?
In 2021, the pH in one of our tunnels was 8.1. And just in case that wasn't a mistest or something, the next one that we took in 2023 was 8.3. So, it kind of bounces around.
Yeah, it
you know?
just depends on what you got in that soil and that exact sample.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it's lower, so that's cool.
Well, thank you so much for giving us this tour. Your farm is amazing, and we learned a lot. Got some new variety names, which I'm really excited about. Thank you a ton, and I really liked coming here.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, and thanks for watching. If you're ever in Stevensville, Montana, you should check out their farm or check in with their CSA maybe.
Yahoo.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.